All right, so it is the top of the hour, and I want to make sure that we get started so we can get through everything okay. I want to welcome everyone and thank you for attending today's webinar on AssetWorks ELDs, the best choice for your fleet. My name is Colleen Boucher, and I'll be acting as moderator for today's presentation. We're going to go ahead and get started in just a second, but before we start, I'd like to say that we're very excited to have Mike Koebel as our presenter today. As a subject matter expert, Mike will be touching on a couple of different points, first being the best practices for choosing an ELD provider. Next would be reviewing the pros and cons of the different ELD hardware platforms, and then finally some brief highlights on the AssetWorks ELD solution set. Another note before we get started, I want to give everyone a heads up that everyone's microphones have been muted. So if you have any questions during the presentation, you can use the WebEx chat function. You should all see the chat icon located on your screen, and this acts as an instant messaging tool. Please feel free to use the WebEx chat to enter any questions during the presentation, and make sure you send them to host only. I'll be happy to field and relay them to Mike at the conclusion of the presentation for a brief Q&A session. With that said, I think we're ready to get started. Mike, it looks like we can see your screen, so you can take it away whenever you're ready.
Great, thanks, Colleen. Appreciate it. Welcome, everyone. Appreciate your time today. This is our kind of power webinar, so it's just a short 15 minutes here to cover a few of the critical things that are on everyone's mind with the looming ELD mandate. And certainly, after the fact, if there's a lot of questions and more time, certainly welcome to have some one-on-one discussions and detailed conversations after the fact. But for today, I wanted to key on three key things. Best practices in choosing an ELD provider. You're inundated with companies calling you, webinars like this, et cetera. There's a lot going on, and what are some of the best practices you should be looking at? What are some of the ELD platform choices? Same with different companies. There's a range of devices. There's all over the map on that. So what are some of the pros and cons of the different platform choices? And, you know, I'm going to wrap up with some of the highlights of the AssetWorks ELD solution. So with that said, let's get into some of the best practices. Like I said, you're inundated these days, I'm sure. And some of the key things you want to look at are just some general company evaluations. So none of this is rocket science, but it's critical as you look at all the potential suppliers in this industry. Simple things. How long has the company been in business? With the ELD mandate, there's been a ton of companies that popped up strictly because of that legislation came into play. So it's important to look at that. How long has that company been in business? How long has the company been in fleet management business? Maybe they're a software company that decided that, hey, let's get in on this ELD thing. So look at that history in fleet management. You should be looking at what else beyond just ELD. Did that company pop up just for ELD? Do they have other complementary applications? You know, where would that business fit in your long-term roadmap, not just the short-term ELD roadmap? How many employees in that business? Is it a two-man shop? Is it a $10,000 behemoth, or is it somewhere in the middle? Right? And fundamentally, is a company proven to be financially viable and stable? You know, this is a long-term. You don't want to be 8 months into this process and losing and having a company that's not a right fit for you. So some of the deployment services. What deployment services are offered from that company? You know, from a project management perspective, you're going to want to ask, you know, do I have a dedicated project manager that's going to oversee my deployment? I don't want to just have all of a sudden my loading dock gets a pallet of boxes on there, and I have to start figuring this out. You know, what is the training plan? So you want to. There's a lot of technology involved. You want to make sure there's a strong training plan for your super users, administrator training, your driver trainer training. You know, you're gonna have internal training personnel that your ELD provider is going to provide that training to. What about the associated documentation? That's all from user guides, software online help, install guides. Make sure that company has all those things in place. You need that to help you deploy and run and maintain the system. And again, what is the remote and on-site go-live support? So when we're going live, does a company offer that on-site go-live? It's always nice to have an on-site person helping you make sure everything is running like it's supposed to, set everyone up, do the hands-on training. So some of the post-implementation support you got to look at. How is this support provided? Is it locally? I think that's going to be a real challenge, or is it an overseas call center? So dig deep into that support process, so that once that installation is going, where does that phone call go? You know, is it a single product and you're calling the call center that's supporting a ton of different products, or is it very focused support that knows what you're running in the fleet? Does that support personnel have direct access to the project deployment R&D staff? If support gets handed off to a large call center, that can be a challenging. Or can that support person escalate easily to the same person that was on site and deployed your project, and even up to the R&D staff if necessary? All right. So, and again, what escalation options are available? These are technical systems you don't obviously want to get in this place, but you also want to know that as an organization, if your leadership needs to talk to another corporate leadership, do you have that access? Can I go up the chain if I would have any reason to? All right. And what is the new feature release? The expectation isn't just, hey, put this in and it stays the same. There should be a new feature release schedule, enhancements to the system, ongoing things, and then what is the associated training that goes with that? So it's not just new features show up in the application and you're not sure how to use them. So dig into these post-implementation support and what is offered out by your ELD provider. And when you get into looking at your vendor, again, FMCM compliance is ultimately all vendors need to have to fall under the compliance. Now, a few key things here. FMCSA does not verify ELD compliance. All FMCSA does is verify submission of paperwork. So what we've seen and you've seen is within weeks of the ELD mandate coming out, there were companies on the FMCSA website indicating they were compliant with ELD, which I found very challenging given the huge volume of testing, the 500 pages of test procedures, et cetera, they had to do, right? So FMCSA does not do any actual product testing occurs. So all they verify is that you've put in the appropriate paperwork, not that you've actually done any of the compliance testing. And if an ELD is found to be non-compliant, if you've installed from a non-compliant company, you have 8 days to replace with a compliant device. And that's a huge challenge. So it's really important, I guess the bottom line is you need to ensure you have a credible ELD supplier. The ELD test procedures and validation is a very significant undertaking, and as if you're looking on the FMC website, you're going to notice a lot of the major players are still not on there, and we ourselves are not. So first on the list doesn't always mean best. So look at that credible ELD supplier, look at the company that's backing it and making those claims, and that's going to be one of your key things as you go through the FMCSA compliance. So some of the platform choices you have, switching gears now, is, you're looking at different things. You got smartphones, you got tablets, and rugged devices. So one of the, let's start at the highly kind of rugged device. This is probably your more traditional device. It's generally a fixed mount. They have high specs for temperature and shock and vibration. They're very rugged devices that typically have expectations of 7+ years. You're going to buy this thing once, and it's very purpose-built for the vehicle environment. It's designed to live in a vehicle in a harsh environment, okay? So some of the pros of this is, low cost of ownership. I don't have to mess with it once. Once it's installed, it's going to have good product longevity, minimal downtime. Key thing, it's always connected to vehicle power and ECM. There's no, it's in the truck, it's paired, it already knows what vehicle it's attached to. When that vehicle has power, this has power. And so it's a really good fit for, harsh work environments. It also minimizes you have a lot more driver distraction management capabilities on these devices because they're fixed to that vehicle. You can blank screens when you're in motion. And it's a very consistent device for a supplier to support, right? And the cons on these, its cost is always the major con. So that's, these devices are going to be greater than $1,000, and that just may be outside of anyone's budget, right? And a lot of them are not portable as well, so you have to make sure you got the appropriate cabling solutions to bring the device to the window in case of an inspection. So kind of a mid-range platform is another style you've probably seen a lot of, but these are more the semi-rugged, durable devices. These have mid-range specs, so they got decent specs for shock, vibration, temperature, dust. In this case, it's a portable unit on a docking station. But that docking station is hardwired to the vehicle. It's hardwired to power. It's hardwired to the ECM connection. And again, it's a purpose-built device designed for a vehicle installation. Okay, so pros, the good things of these types of devices, they're cost-effective, yet they're still durable, and they're still part of the vehicle. You still have that direct power connection. You got the direct DCM connection. I'm not worried about the pairing and those types of functionality. When I'm in the truck and the truck is powered, this thing is operational. It has a portability aspect to it. I can take it off the docking station and bring it out the window or hand it to the inspector for a roadside inspection. I can carry it around my vehicle and trailer when I'm doing my DVRs. And you also have some control on this to minimize driver distraction. And it's a very consistent device. If everyone's got the same device in their fleet, it's a consistent device to support. All right. Again, cons. It's probably not the lowest upfront cost solution. It's reasonable, but won't be the lowest if that's your #1 criteria. And if you are in a very harsh environment, it wouldn't be the right fit for that. You'd probably want to get up to the fully rugged device. Okay. Then the other platform is more the smartphone and tablet, more the consumer grade side of things products. So they're consumer grade specs, so you're not going to have the high and low temperature capabilities. They're portable. Of course, with a smartphone, you got multi-purpose with the voice capabilities, and these generally have a Bluetooth connectivity to the ECM device. Okay. So some of the pros. Great, these are low cost initially to deploy, it's convenient, they're portable. You may already have a smartphone, so you may have tablets already for other functions you're doing. So there's a general convenience factor. They're readily available, they're down the street, you can get any, so that's a real advantage to this device. Some of the cons on these devices, and we've seen from some of our client bases, they're not part of the vehicle. You do rely on a driver. You add a few extra steps to that driver. I have to confirm the Bluetooth pairing. Am I in the right truck? Am I reading the truck next to me? So do I have consistent power? Did I bring my power cord? Do I have it mounted properly to ensure I have consistent power, because I'm not necessarily powered directly off the vehicle. And you are going to have some potential higher cost of ownership with, these aren't durable devices. We all have gone through our own various numbers of tablets and smartphones, so you got to expect replacements. And you also have another element of multiple vendors for support. So you have a tablet from one organization, a wireless plan from another organization, and software from another. So, and if you don't have smartphones and you elect to add smartphones to your fleet, there's another driver distraction area. The smartphones, because of their voice and texting and other capabilities, you may bring further challenges for driver distraction into your fleet. And a smartphone wireless plan actually is a higher cost, and if you just get a data-only device, when you bundle that all in with the wireless, it can be definitely a lower cost. So, and application support with these types of devices, as a supplier of software to this, you're not sure what other app programs you've loaded up and how that impacts the support and how that impacts performance. So it just brings a little more variables into the equation when you're supporting and deploying it. So that kind of comes to AssetWorks ELD and why obviously I'm biased and why I feel best choice. But some of the critical things to look at, again, we talked about the company. AssetWorks has been in fleet management technology for greater than 30 years. Okay. With a range of obviously it's not all been ELDs for 30 years, but, we're managing 4 million vehicles and 10 million equipment assets are under management of all the different technologies we offer to fleets, all right? And we have been in the mobile computing business since 1990 and installed our first terminal on two-way radios. This is prior to cell networks, prior to, all the stuff we have today. And what that 1990 experience brings us to, we have there's a lot of different components in an ELD solution, right? It's hardware, software, and wireless. And we manufacture some of our own hardware devices. We write all our software, and we have all the wireless experience. So bringing that experience versus a lot of suppliers today are just software companies. We're bringing in 30 years of experience in mobile computing. We have 250 employees. We have multiple offices in North America, and all our support is provided locally. So we talk about the support person taking your call. They can walk over and talk to your project manager, talk to the R&D person. So it gives you that local support. Again, we talked about ELD platform choices. We offer all three main platform options for ELDs. We do offer the rugged, the semi-rugged, and the consumer grade. And you as an organization can mix and match if you desired. So if I have a certain segment of trucks, maybe I own these trucks and I have owner-operators for other, you can do a mix of applications as you deploy this across your fleet. Okay. The driver interface, I'm going to step back. It can easily take, an hour and a half, 2 hours on a session to go through, the details and weeds of the product, but today I was just trying to touch on a few of the highlights. So if you're interested in more details, obviously after the fact we can get into more, dive deep into a very specific conversation around your fleet and how we may be a right fit for your needs. From the driver perspective, again, it's user-friendly. Minimize your keystrokes, large buttons, easy read display, and clear indicators to the driver. It's got to be easy for the driver. They just want to. They're drivers, they're not computer operators, and they just want to be able to push a few buttons and be on their way and have instant feedback. All right. We also offer a driver web portal. I'm not always in my truck. If I have a device that's mounted in my truck and I'm not there, but I still have to do a status change, I'm doing a training session, I'm in the shop, it's a full web portal so I can do status changes from my smartphone, from a computer, from any browser or smartphone. All right. From an administrator side, which is many on the call today, it's the goal here is I log in. It's very functional from a from an alerting perspective. It's popping up my home screen that's giving me my immediate. Here's some conflicts or unknown driving. Here's some challenge issues that I have to resolve as administrator and address them. So the goal is for you as administrator to see the errors quickly, drill down through these dashboards and access all the data I need to see on my fleet. From an audit and viewing perspective, you're going to have real-time log views, plus I'm going to see all the actual log versus an edited log, if there had been any requirement to edit a log, plus full audit capabilities on any log edits that occurred. So the requirement by ELD, this is a key portion. From a reporting perspective, you're going to have really strong reports around things like missing miles. It's critical now with ELD. I have to allocate mileage. Every mile that is traveled in a truck, I have to have allocated to a driver. So you have missing miles reports, I have violations of conflicts, reports that instantly draw your attention to items that could cause you concern in an audit. Okay. Then a few operational reporting things such as hours and miles, the ability to run reports that show you all the hours the driver was on duty and driving, and all the mileage that driver. Some of our clients are using that data for actually payroll information, or driver vehicle usage, who's been in what vehicle, hey, why is the truck messy, who was in it last, just simple operational reports like that. All right. And then, beyond ELD is you're procuring a technology framework that allows you to do more things. So the other advantage you want to bring to the table is not just have a one-trick pony. You want to go beyond just ELD. Hey, I have GPS. I got all this information in my truck now. I got ECM connections. So your ELD supplier, we provide all the standard GPS telematics functionality as part of the ELD solution. That includes the driver behavior, harsh braking, harsh acceleration, swerving, speeding, of course, is a big one. Idling, potentially a big one for you. And other components we offer is work-related functionality, so that can be simple dispatching through to detailed electronic field ticketing, or just messaging across the fleet, individual, group, or broadcast messaging. Okay. The other element of our ELD platform is we support full trailer tracking, and then we also have devices and for any light-duty or exempt vehicles you may have. If you have a mixed fleet, not everyone needs ELD, but you still want to have a consistent mapping and driver behavior and GPS tracking platform. The AssetWorks ELD platform gives you the ability to manage your trailers and light-duty or exempt vehicles. And then when you go and continue beyond ELD functionality, we also have some enhanced telematics. So we're vehicle health reporting, diagnostic trouble codes, malfunction indicator code. You're getting all this information back in real time and creating real-time alerts so that your mechanics are getting information on your vehicles and knowing to address things in real time, not after you blow an engine. We have an accident reconstruction module that's taking high-resolution data as your vehicle is going down the road, and if there is a major incident, you can capture a very high resolution of data what was happening at the time of that accident. All right. and if some of you are running any specialized vehicles, there's the ability to create custom events such as, okay, my stabilizer out, why is my vehicle in motion, or monitor weight sensors, or again, boom switches. Hey, why do I have why is my device out of the boom, crane out of the boom, and the vehicle's in motion? So you create your custom events if you got more of a specialized vehicle for connectivity. All right. So just to sum up, we bring to the table corporate history, the longevity and credibility as a long-term fleet management technology supplier in the industry. Bring you a range of ELD hardware platforms. What's the right fit for your organization and the situation you're in today? Applications that are driver-friendly, both from the actual when I'm using the ELD in the cab of the truck through to a web portal when I'm not in the truck. All right? And the back office piece is fully featured, lots of administrative tools and reporting modules to help you as the administrator, easily manage your fleet and address any concerned situations. And finally, it's a scalable platform with the range, the functionality beyond ELD. So the goal is to make a technology investment and grow that across our fleet. All right. And that is the quick 15 minutes, turned into 20. But at this time, if there's any questions, I was going to leave it up to the floor.
All right, Mike, thank you very much. That was a wonderful overview of what the options that are available. What we're going to do now is open up the floor to some of your questions. Now, just a reminder that if you have questions, please send them to host using the WebEx chat tool on your screen. Provided we have enough time, I'll pass your questions to Mike, and he'll be happy to give you an answer. So just to start, one of the first ones that came through is someone was asking, is your ELD costing based on a per vehicle basis or a per driver basis? We have more drivers than vehicles, and I was wondering how you would handle a situation like that.
Yeah, the ELD costing is actually on a per vehicle basis, not a per driver, because that's a common scenario where I may have 50 or 80 vehicles, but I have more drivers than that. So you actually are only paying on a per vehicle basis versus a per driver basis.
Okay, that's good to know. Looks like we're waiting on some other questions to come in. Okay, one question that's come in is, how many drivers can your devices accommodate per device? So I guess how many users may be able to utilize, I guess, one device?
Yeah, good question. So if you have, team driver situation, slip seating, if you have multiple people in the cab, even if it's just a training session, so we can support up to 5 people logged into the application associated with a single vehicle. So, but I'm going to have one of them as the designated driver, and the other people logged in are just on duty, not driving.
Okay. Someone else wanted to know if there was an IFTA function available.
Yeah, so from an IFTA perspective, you're capturing the fuel consumption and mileage on a per tax jurisdiction basis. Well, obviously it's usually the state or province, and we're capturing that data so you can use that for your IFTA reporting.
Okay. Someone else was looking to find out what the cost of the semi-rugged devices are. Is that something that you can outline here in the webinar?
Yeah, I mean, typically it's down to an individual situation, but you're looking at typically around $650 mark for those types of devices.
Okay. Can multiple companies access different, I assume, organizations' logs at the same time, OO's logs?
Well, when you set up logins, you can set up and define who has access to that. So I guess I want to maybe clarify the question. If they were, is that driver driving for multiple companies, or maybe we can expand a little. If you can just repeat that.
Owner-operators. I apologize. I misunderstood the question. So can multiple companies access different owner-operators' logs at the same time?
Yeah, the answer to that is yes. Based on how the organizations are set up, the owner-operator could see their vehicles, and the parent company could see them as well. So the owner-operators would be limited to the vehicles that they're responsible for, but the overall company could see all of the vehicles under their umbrella.
Thanks, and just for the crowd here, that's Phil Arsenal's online here to help me if there's any of these deeper in the weeds questions that I can't pull off the cuff. So thanks, Phil.
Okay. Another question that's come through is the data stored or transmitted like text in case you go out of range?
So the data is stored. Everything's designed to work offline. You know, back to when we talked about being in 1990 with two-way radio networks, coverage was really poor. So all of our wireless capabilities allows you to capture and store all this data while they're out of coverage, and then once it gets back into coverage, it syncs back up with the server.
Okay. Okay. Is the system expandable for sister or two sister companies?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So then that's just part of when we set up the initial administration and structure of the organization, we just make sure we're accommodating you know, your current and potential future structure so that we set it up appropriately.
Okay. And are there, somebody else wanted to know, are there added data charges or roaming charges associated with running these devices?
Well, when we provide our ELD, it includes a North American-wide data plan that includes roaming. So for standard ELD functionality and things that we're doing, there's not any additional charges above and beyond the monthly fee that we would provide for the entire solution. Now that said, if you allowed people to watch YouTube videos or other things on the devices, then yeah, you'd be responsible for those overage charges. Okay.
Somebody else is looking to find out if there's a cost break when you reach 400 or 500 vehicles. So essentially, is there a bulk discount at a certain threshold that is offered?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, in that I would work with you on a very detailed, you know, pricing proposal specific to your situation and vehicle count. So absolutely.
Do we offer a solution that comes with no monthly fee? That's one of the other questions that's come through.
No, we do not. We have to we have to pay our support people. So yeah, that's not from an ELD perspective and the wireless charges from a full ELD. Yeah, we do not have any free offerings.
Okay. Okay. Let's wait. Let's give it another minute. See if any other questions come through. I think that you've gone through a really good broad range of topics and the questions that have been asked already. I'm hoping that people are finding them valuable as they move forward in their search. Where does this device fit in with the regulations specific to Canada there and the mandate as it relates to Canadian provinces and regulations? Yeah, so we do support Canadian rule sets with the product. Canada has not yet have an official ELD mandate. I guess the noise or the rumor is that by the end of this year, there's an expectation that Canada will be announcing a very similar mandate to the U.S. ELD mandate. And given, of course, cross-border and, you know, those capabilities, it's going to, you know, the expectation is going to be quite similar. But today we have electronic log clients running in Canada. So this is a piggyback question on the data charges and roaming. Do you know how the data is calculated or how it's measured for these devices? Yeah, it's a per megabyte basis, so you're monitoring per megabyte usage, and then, you know, just for interest sakes and the people on the call, we typically have a 50 megabyte plan as a standard plan we use when we wrap it in with our ELD. Our ELD solution generally requires maybe only half of that, so you got a little bit of leeway. And then overages on that are a per megabyte charge for overage.
And I guess further to that, if an organization says, hey, we got a great relationship with, AT&T or Verizon or whoever, and we want to bring our own SIMs and our own data plans, and we don't need the airtime from AssetWorks, we support that model as well. We just pull that out of our pricing and allow you to get your own SIMs.
Okay, great. Okay, well, let's give it another one last minute to see if any other questions come through. If they don't, we can certainly wrap it up, and any questions can be directed at Mike specifically. You have his phone number there and his email. But let's wrap this up if I think we're ready for that. At this time, I'd like to thank you all again for taking the time to attend today's presentation. Hopefully you've secured some valuable takeaways to keep in mind moving forward as you explore your ELD options. Mike, I'd also like to thank you on behalf of AssetWorks once again for sharing your expertise and product highlights with everyone today. As you can see, Mike's contact information is available should you have any follow-up questions or would like to schedule a one-on-one demo. We'll be posting the links to this webinar recording on the AssetWorks community, so be sure to check that out as well as our customer newsletter for future webinars. Thank you for attending today. Mike and I will be sticking around for just another few minutes in case any of you still have questions. Otherwise, have a great day, and we look forward to having you on with us next time.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate the time today.